The table below shows the number of visitors to Ashdown Museum during the year before and the year after it was refurbished. The charts, the charts show the result of surveys asking visitors how satisfied they were with their visit during the same two periods. The table displays how many people visited Ashdown Museum in the year prior to and the year following its refurbishment, while the pie charts illustrate the responses to surveys of visitor satisfaction during the same 2 years. Overall, visitors' member and satisfaction both increased following the refurbishment. There were 74,000 people visiting the museum in the year before it was refurbished, and this number climbed significantly to 92,000 in the year after the refurbishment. Moving on to visitor satisfaction, those who rated their experience as dissatisfied made up the greatest proportion of respondents in the year before the museum was refurbished, at 40%. However, this number showed a dramatic decline to only 15% after the refurbishment. The proportion of respondents who were very dissatisfied with their visit also fell to only 5%. The proportions of those who responded satisfied and very satisfied in comparison both went up in year after the refurbishment to 40% and 35% respectively, and these were the two most common responses that year. The table shows the total quantity of people visiting Ashdown Museum, and the pie chart compared their satisfaction levels in two periods, before and after refurbishment. Overall, thanks to the restoration, this museum attracted a higher number of visitors. Furthermore, their satisfaction level increased significantly, demonstrated by the increasing satisfaction level after that. Only 74,000 people paid visits to this museum before its refurbishment, which climbed to 92,000 after that. Before the restoration, 40% of visitors expressed their dissatisfaction with the historical site, followed by 30% of them answering that they were satisfied. Tourists who were highly satisfied with this museum accounted for only 15% after the refurbishment. The proportions of people who felt extremely satisfied or happy with their visit both rose remarkably to 35% and 40% respectively. In contrast, visitors with low or very low satisfaction levels took up smaller percentages with 15% and 5% only. Some people claim that not enough of the waste from homes is recycled. They say that the only way to increase recycling is for governments to make it a legal requirement. Some people feel that there is not enough residential waste recycled. They argue that recycling can only be increased if people are legally required to participate. However, I do not think legalization is needed at all. For one thing, low participation in recycling is mainly the result of its inconvenience. For another, awareness campaigns can achieve the same result as legislation does. It is inconvenient for many people to recycle their household waste, Many people do not actively engage in recycling, not because it is not a mandate, but because they do not have access to curbside recycling. If they want to participate, they have to travel long distance to find a recycling center, which discourages them from being active recyclers. Thus, if governments make recycling facilities more accessible, participation will improve greatly even without any legal requirements. In addition, awareness campaigns can be as effective as laws. It is true that if laws mandate recycling, people will be more aware of its importance. However, this can also be accomplished through awareness campaigns. For example, governments can campaign on social media platforms against the damage that residential waste has caused to this planet. In this way, more people will become alert to the waste crisis this planet is facing and start participating in recycling as a result. In conclusion, I believe it is completely unnecessary to use laws to increase household recycling since recycling is unpopular mainly because it is inconvenient. Besides, awareness campaigns can have the same effectiveness as laws. It is difficult to conceive a sustainable economic growth without a clean and healthy living condition for people. For this reason, many suggest a new legislation on household waste recycling as the only way to protect the living environment. I partly agree with this statement. On the one hand, I concur that a law on waste recycling is a promising approach to the problems of waste from households. It is true that when a bill is adopted and made into a law, people undoubtedly pay more attention to it, obeying recycling laws. They will certainly abide by the laws and take more responsibility for classifying the waste from their homes. This will gradually form a good habit of protecting the surrounding environment among the population. For this reason, more waste from home can be recycled, contributing to a cleaner environment. On the other hand, I do not agree that this is the only measure to increase recycling because education can be equally or even more effective to solve the problem of household waste. For example, governments should have well-trained teachers impart the knowledge of how to properly recycle household waste to students. Children who receive this knowledge can recycle with a higher level of effectiveness and success than those who do not. Another reason why I do not agree with this new law is that this policy is apparently impractical to low income families who are already struggling with many problems in their life. A law on treating waste from their homes just places a heavier burden and greater anxiety on them. In conclusion, the introduction of a new law on treating waste from homes can be an effective measure to some extent, but this would certainly not be the only way and not a feasible measure to unstable income families.